I'm an Ironman. I am an Ironman. And I've got the medal to prove it. I've got the t-shirt to prove it. Oh my god. I don't think it's sunk in. I do not think it has sunk in. I can't believe what I achieved. I can't. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my Ironman Copenhagen race review. I'm gonna sit and talk through the whole race. Get yourself maybe like a drink, or maybe like watch this while you're doing your long bike session or something like that, because it's probably going to be a long one. I want to get all the details in. I want to tell you all about Ironman Copenhagen and what an incredible experience it was, and I'm just I'm lost for words. If you've not been following my journey, then my name is Laura. I have just completed Ironman Copenhagen and I am an Ironman. What the hell? Look at my medal. Where do I even start? I'll start from the beginning. My main stress for Ironman Copenhagen was if my bike was going to show up, because obviously I had a really horrible experience when I flew out to Finland to do Lati 70.3. My bike didn't show up. It arrived, it's all good. Another incredible surprise when I got to Copenhagen airport was that my brother and his girlfriend Rachel were there to surprise me. I had no idea that they were coming, and that just meant the absolute world. Obviously my mum and dad flew out with me. They are the best support ever. My boyfriend Gaz, he also came, so they've just all been the most incredible support. Having for an Ironman, like, you need people around you who get it, who want you to win, who want you to succeed, because without that, like a prep for an Ironman would be so hard. Like, it's such a mammoth, huge, daunting task, and there's so much that goes into it, so much time and effort, and if you don't have people around you that understand it, it's going to be even more difficult. And then yeah, we got to the airport, we were going from passports to pick up our luggage, and then just this random man came right up to my ear and was like, "Excuse me, do you know where the bikes are?" I was like, "Do you know where to pick up my bike box or something?" And I was like, "Oh my god," and he was right there, and I was like, "Oh my god," and I just sobbed. I think, again, like going into this race, and if you've prepped for an Ironman, it's just, yeah, it's overwhelming. I just felt emotional, like going to Copenhagen, going to the start line, everything, it just felt so overwhelming and emotional. When I saw them both there, I just cried. I just cried so much. It was just the most amazing thing that they'd come all that way to support me. That was amazing. Anyway, so I had a few days in Copenhagen. Amazing city. For anyone who is doing Ironman Copenhagen maybe next year, or is thinking of even going to Copenhagen, go. It's the most amazing city. Their way of life, their food, the city, everything, is the people. It's just amazing. So I would 100% recommend it. This isn't a fly to Copenhagen recommendation blog, but you know, I would recommend it. So race day morning, I woke up at 3:30. It was such an early start because race start was at 7. My swim start was 7. I went in the first wave because I was hoping to swim sub 1 hour. Well, I was thinking I'm gonna maybe swim 1:02, but my coach was like, go in the 1 hour. I think you'll maybe just get to sub 1 hour. So I was like, okay, it's a bit like bit of a push, but okay, we'll give it a go. Anyway, swim start was at 7, so we got down to like the swim start and transition area for about 5:30, I think. Yeah, we got on the metro at like 5:15, got down there for about 5:30. It's a really easy, quick metro. It's like a 24/7 metro, so it's super efficient, super easy to use, which is obviously so ideal when you're doing such an early start. You went into transition to just check over my bike. I'd obviously wrecked my bike the day before. It had rained overnight, so my bike was soaking. Checked over my bike and everything, that all was fine. And you know when you're just in transition before the race and you just faff, I was like spinning my wheel and changing my gears, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm just, you just faff. Went and checked my transition bag was there. Obviously it was still going to be there, but you just for peace of mind, you just want to check everything. And then on my row of bikes, there was two guys chatting, and I was like earwigging for any like final last minute tips. And I think he was Danish, one of the men, and he said to this other man, just be prepared, when it rains like this in Denmark, punches are really common. So I was like, what? My ears like pricked, because that is, out of everything, that is my most feared, worried about thing, is getting a puncture. Because I mean, I've got tubeless tyres, so it's fine, like the sealant should just seal, but what if it doesn't seal? Or like in my head, what if all the sealants come out? Or you just overthink everything. So anyway, I overheard this, I was like, what do you mean, like punches are more common? Like, how is that a thing? Because it had rained overnight, and he said when it rains, the road surface mean people are more likely to get punctures. And I don't know what he meant by that, whether that meant like there was more debris on the roads causing, like, you know, thorns and stones and things like that to be on the roads. But I didn't really understand that, because when I raced Finland, it rained and rained and rained and did not stop for the whole race. And obviously it rained so much in England, and I don't get punctures in the rain in England, so I don't really know what he meant. Anyway, it was also confirmed at one of the aid stations when I was speaking to one of the guys. He said, yeah, in Denmark it's really common to get punctures in this weather. So anyone who knows anything about that, maybe comment below, because I don't know why that would be a thing. Anyway, so I chose to ignore him. I was like, it's fine, it's just a bit of rain, it's just a bit of rain. Went to the swim start and did a bit of warm up. There's a nice swim warm up area, which is ideal. So did a few sort of quick bursts, just out and back, just to get my heart rate up a bit. I mean, my heart rate was already like so high, I was so nervous. And when obviously Gaz and I had got down there first, and then my parents and my brother and Rachel arrived a little bit later, and just seeing them, and I was just trying to hold back the tears, because I was just, I don't know, it's just so overwhelming. I think this race just meant a lot to me. I've been training so hard. I've put, like, for anyone who's been following me on here, anyone who knows me, like my clients, my family, like, know how all in on this process I have gone. I've given it everything. I've trained hard, as everyone does when they train for an Ironman. You know, it's no joke. It's no joke doing an Ironman. So, you know, I've gone all in on this training. It really meant a lot to me, and I didn't want to let anyone down, didn't want to let myself down, my coach down, and so it really meant a lot, as it does to everyone. I did my warm-up, and then they literally called us to go through to like our waiting area. I was in the first wave, so that was about 6:50. They told us to go through to the waiting area, so I went with all the other red caps. Oh god, it was crazy. So then they filtered us through, and then they played Thunderstruck, which they always play at the beginning of any Ironman races. And literally as it was playing, and it was like 3 minutes till the start time, or like 2 minutes to the start time, all of a sudden the music went off, the microphone went off, the power went off with the big arch, like the swim start arch. It just started to fall, and they just had a power cut. And so like 3 minutes to the start, like my goggles were on, everyone was like revved up, ready to go, and then there was just a power cut, and everyone was like, oh, what do we do now? So then we were just waiting and waiting. There was a backup generator, it finally came on, so it was about 5 past, but those 5 minutes felt like forever. I was like, oh my god, are we gonna get to start? Like, will my chip start? That was that. We started at 5 past rather than 7, so everything was just pushed back 5 minutes. So obviously they let 6 people through at a time every 6 seconds, just to break up the start. Whenever I do a start, a half or a full, I don't full on sprint into the water. I don't see the point in sprinting that hard to save, what, 3-4 seconds, because as well, if you sprint in and then dive in and your goggles come off and you get a bit of water in, like, that's you screwed. You have to stop, empty your goggles, readjust. Like, I don't want that. So, you know, I jog in, and then I sort of swim in with my head up and then put my head in, because I've not quite, maybe it's probably just my technique, I've not mastered diving in and not having my goggles then just slightly slip and the water go in. So I don't really see the point. I guess obviously like the super fast elite people, maybe there is a point, but anyway, there's no point in rushing into the water, getting your heart rate up and then panicking and then having to breaststroke some of the swim at the start. So take it nice and steady. Felt really great on the swim. The conditions, the water was perfect. It was as calm as anything. It was amazing. So the swim course, you swim up to a buoy, you take a right turn, and then you swim all the way under 2 bridges, past the second bridge to a white buoy, which is sort of out on the right hand side. You take a left, you swim, and it's like a rectangle, then back down. My swim was going really well. I felt strong. When my watch clicked over to 500 meters, I could see that I'd gone through 500 meters in 7:36. So I was swimming like at 1:31 pace, which like is faster than I had expected, as was planning. So I was like, shit, this is going well, feel good. I'm not, you know, I felt really calm. I was just really focusing on my technique rather than just like flapping and kicking, taking it nice and chilled and trying to find some feet to sit on. There was a couple of points where I kind of found myself, a lot of people shifted right over to the left where the central buoys were, and then a lot of people went over to the right, which is kind of where I wanted to sit, over to the right, because the turning buoy is kind of out to the right. So if you think there's a load of yellow buoys up the centre where we swim up one side, swim down the other, and then the white buoy is kind of to the side. So you kind of, rather than going to the yellow buoys to then cut back out to the white buoy, you may as well just cut straight across for like the shortest route. But there was a couple of times where you'd look up and I'd find myself, there's no one in front of me, and they're either over to the left or to the right or to the left. So I just had to refocus. Sometimes I just am away with the fairies when I'm swimming, and then realise I'm like, shit, I'm not on anyone's feet, I'm kind of in no man's land. So really tried to try and get sort of within a pack, just to get at least a bit of drafting and a bit of help there. Swam out, it was fine. The weeds, oh my god, when you got right out to the end, the final buoy, the weeds and the churn, it was just so murky, so many weeds. It was horrible. That wasn't nice at all. There was a couple of times where you just were like grabbing weeds with your hand, they were like stuck to your face. On the way then back down, I found someone's feet with maybe like 1500 meters to go. There was a man swimming in front of me, and it was just a great pace, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna sit on this guy's feet for a little bit. That's what my coach had said, find some fast feet and sit on them, let them help, let them do the work. It's what happened in Lati. Someone sat on my feet the whole way. I feel like I was doing all the work, but that was again my fault for not finding someone's feet to stick on, for not being able to do that. So yeah, this man was swimming in front of me, felt great, and then there's a man on my feet as well. There's probably a big train of us, so just be nice. I was like, this is great, this is lovely. I'm sure the man in front was like, Jesus, I'm doing all the work here. All the way for about maybe about a kilometre, sat on his feet till I got to the end turn buoy, and I said to myself, don't lose this guy's feet as you go around the turn buoy. Obviously I did. I've not really practiced doing turn buoys, so turned and he was gone. But then the guy behind me managed to overtake me, so I was like, I'll sit on your feet then. Sit on his feet for a bit. And then my watch clicked over to 3.5k, and I looked down and it was like 55 minutes. I was like, if I keep pushing hard, I could do this at 1 hour. So I did. I went as hard as I could for that last stretch, and I managed 59:35 swim. I was very, very happy with that. 1:34 average, 6th in my age group, female 30 to 34, and 11th female overall, 107th overall. So I was very, very happy with my swim time. Yeah, buzzing with that. So got out of the swim, and I could, in the last maybe like 600 meters of the swim, I could feel my calf and my hamstring and my right leg starting to cramp up. I was like, okay, fine, just don't kick too hard. I don't really kick my legs overly, especially over those longer distances. Well, I wanted to save my legs for the bike and the run, and it really gets my heart rate up if I kick them too hard. So I kind of just try and keep them afloat and just keep them nice and relaxed. But also over those longer distances, when I do like longer swim club, let's say if I go to a 90-minute like swim session that I like local here, I always cramp up right at the end. Always. It's always in my calves, always cramp up. So I was just very aware of that. So I didn't want to kick too hard or too much or anything. So kept as relaxed as I could, got out of the water. I was like, oh God, this is cramping up, but it's fine. Like, get some nutrition on your bike, you're going to be fine. So got out of the water, and coming out of that water and seeing the crowds, I mean, it was the start of the most amazing day of like cheering and supporting, because the supporters, oh my god, I'll bang on about it in this video so much, but the support on that race was the best support I've ever experienced across any race that I've ever done. Like, the like the supporters, like just the normal people, but also the volunteers, they were just incredible. And again, just goes back to like the Danish people are just lovely. Like I've banged on about the Danish people to so many people, but they're so nice. The Danish people are just great. They're so supportive, they're so happy. So coming out that water and then the cheers, and again across the whole day, what I found, because there wasn't that many women doing the race, so there was, I think there was about 2,200 people doing the race. I think about just under 2,000 finished. Yeah, 1936 finished. Out of all of that, there were 340 women. So I think they said it was about 18% women. So the support for women that day was just incredible. Like anytime any of the volunteers or just like people on the streets, anytime like a female would go past, I found they'd be like, you go girl, like you've got this, like girl power. They were just like the nicest. I've never experienced that. It was just so lovely, like these girls and guys as well, but mainly girls supporting us women who were racing. It just felt really special. I think, you know, I don't know, how do you put this? Yeah, there's obviously more men that do Ironman, and not that it's, no, it's impressive for anyone, whatever gender, it's impressive for anyone to do an Ironman, but it's clear that there's far less women doing triathlon, doing Ironman than there are men. So I guess it is more, yeah, it's not more impressive, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, yeah, I guess it is more unique, or it is more rare to see women doing it, because you do see far more men doing it. So that support was just amazing. So that was really apparent from the start, from when I got out of the swim. And there was a few men in front of me, and then as I ran out, the cheers just got like, cheers were so loud, and I was like, is there someone around me who is like famous? Am I the first woman out the swim? Which I wasn't, but I think I was probably one of the first women out of the swim, because if I came 11th overall by gender. There was probably some faster people behind me who started behind me, so maybe I was like 5th, 6th out the water, female, so it probably looked, yeah, I don't know, I was probably one of the first women coming out of the water. Anyway, it was just, I thought I was like some pro triathlete, some bloody superstar famous person, because everyone cheered so loud. Anyway, got into transition, had a really successful first transition. I'd forgotten to wee in my wetsuit as I was getting out the water in the last bit of the swim, because I was focused on trying to get sub 1 hour. So and I really wanted to wee before I got on the bike, obviously, so I started to take my wetsuit off, and then I was like, I'm gonna leave my wetsuit on and wee in my wetsuit. So I got my helmet, put my glasses on, so all still while still having my wetsuit on, had my toilet, and then took it off. Things you've got to do. Everything was pretty seamless in T1. Put all my gels in the back of my tri-suit as planned. All my other nutrition was on my bike in my top tube bag. I smashed T1, then you have to go up and around the back of the bikes, come down, grab your bike and go out. So my T1 was 4:50. Considering how big T1 was, I was really happy with 4 minutes and 50 seconds. I wasn't expecting, well, you know, you want to get as fast a transition as possible. I don't think Gaz was expecting that quick of a transition, because I think he was yeah, expecting me to be a little bit longer in both the swim and in T1, but smashed both. I was like, I'm not doing such a good swim to then waste a load of time in transition, so get it done nice and quick. Yeah, then I was out on the bike, ready for 180 kilometers on the bike. I think coming out of the water, like higher up, obviously with like some of the fast men as well, it has its pros, but it has its cons. The cons being, when you then get out on your bike and you're going at what I would deem a fast pace for me, all these men are flying past you, which is fine, obviously, but you then feel like you're going slow, and you're like, oh, well, maybe I should be going at that speed, maybe I should try and speed up. Obviously, I just tried to stick to my own race, my plan in my head, do what I needed to do, but that always is a little bit of a stress, what I found in previous races, because I always think, shit, I'm going really slow, but I'm not. Like, I'm doing my race, I'm doing what is fast for me, so that's always a bit of a, it messes with your head a little bit. But anyway, got out on the bike. It was wet to start off with. The road surface was wet, and it was really foggy as well, which was fine. You know, that is very typical English weather, so I'm used to training in that. I think most of my rides this summer have been done in the rain, because it's just been an awful English summer, so very much used to that. And again, the fog fine, not bothered, want to stay nice and cool on the bike. I'm happy with that, didn't want to overheat or anything. So came out of transition down the coast road, and then I saw Gaz, which was nice to just see him one more time before I then obviously went off for a long lonely bike ride. Headed off on my bike, felt good, felt strong. The first maybe 10-20k I was a bit like, oh god, this is long. Like, it kind of like hit me, and I was like, fine, don't think too far ahead, just focus on how I'd broken it down in my head, what I'd planned, you know, 25-ish k out, a 60 odd k loops, another 60 odd k loop, 25k back. I was like, just think of that, get to the next sort of checkpoint in your mind. So my first sort of checkpoint was when the first loop started. So the nice straight coast road, focus on that, that's all you need to focus on. And again, yeah, support was amazing. You kind of go wind through the city. So the first little bit of the bike route is it's not slow, but it's a bit technical. There's a few, like, you have to go onto a bike path for a bit and around a few corners, and there's a few like no passing zones and just little things like that. So it's a bit technical until you then get out and just head down the coast all the way down. And I think we had a bit of a tailwind, so it was nice. Either that or I was just feeling fresh, more fresh than when I came back, because it felt like it was windy and hard on the way back. First bit felt good, took on a gel straight away. I always do after the swim, take on one of my bigger gels. Had that straight away, was feeling good, and I actually started to feel hungry quite quickly on the bike. So maybe I didn't have enough breakfast and enough to eat that morning, but I'd had quite a big dinner the night before. I don't know, I felt fine, but I noticed I started to feel hungry quite quickly. Anyway, tried to eat as much as possible. I headed off on the bike, all was going really well, and I was fueling really well. I took like flapjacks on, and then what my original plan was to have a banana at 100k, but because I'd started feeling hungry earlier on, I had a banana at like 66k, well, half a banana, and then another one at 100k and another one at 133. So I'd had like 3 halves as I went along. So I broke that down a little bit. Like, I just, in my head I was like, get to the next banana, get to the next banana, because yeah, as I said, I was starting to feel a little bit hungry. So race fueling does need a bit of work, but I think that just comes with time, that just comes with experience, really. That's something that I will definitely work on, and it's something you can always improve as you learn your body a little bit more. Also, what I did before I started the swim, took to Imodium, always do before races these days. I've just started doing that just as, I don't know, just in case. I just don't want tummy issues. So anyway, yeah, felt really good on the bike. And then when I got to, so when you started then the first loop, and then it starts like winding to the countryside, and we got onto some of the windy countryside roads, and then I saw someone with a puncher, and I was like, oh god, poor them, I feel really bad for them. Saw someone else with a puncher, and literally I just kept seeing people with punchers. I was like, what's going on? Like, that's really weird, why have so many people got punchers? And in my head I was like, do these people not get new tyres before races? Like, are these people, you know, got old tyres? Why wouldn't you get new tyres? I was thinking of all these things in my head. And at this point I got to about 50k, and I looked down and I was like, oh god, and there was sealant on the back of my bike, white sealant. I was like, oh, for God's sake. And to be fair, it's a good sign. I hadn't even noticed that it happened, and that's what the bike shop had said to me. You know, most of the time when you get a puncture with tubeless tyres, you tend not to even notice. It just happens, it seals, there'll be a bit of sealant on your bike and you're fine, keep going. So I saw that and I was like, it's fine. I looked down about 10 minutes later, and because it was raining still a little bit, foggy, it kind of like, I don't know whether it dried or it like washed off or whatever. So I was like, it's fine, like, all good. Then went on a little bit longer, got to about 60k and looked down, more sealant. I was like, oh, for God's sake. So at this point I pulled over and just felt my tyre just to see, like, had loads come out, because I'd had a puncture a few weeks before and it had literally gone flat like straight away. It had gone really flat quite quickly, so it must maybe a few weeks before been a bit more of a severe puncture. Whereas this one, it seemed that maybe the air was coming out really slowly, and maybe the sealant looked worse on my bike because of the rain, and because, yeah, I don't know, it just looked worse than maybe it was. But anyway, stopped, pressed my tyre, and like, it was absolutely fine. Yeah, it felt firm enough, my tyre, so I was like, fine, I'll carry on. And then looked down again, more sealant, and this was around like I think this was about 98k, because I stopped, felt my tyre, and I was going to put a bit more air in, and then the sweeper van had come up, because I was on my second loop at this point, and the sweeper van, I think, was picking someone up who was on their first loop. and he came up, pulled up beside me and was like, are you okay? Do you want me to call the bike mechanic? I was like, no, I think I'm fine. It's, you know, I think I've got a puncture, but it, you know, it doesn't seem to be flat. And he said, go, like, keep going. The 100k aid station just around the corner, pump it up there. So in my head I was like, yeah, you know what, actually I'm gonna stop there, get a banana, use the pump there rather than use my gas canister, so I know how much air is in my tyre. In hindsight I probably shouldn't have stopped there. I should have just kept going to the 100k. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I stopped a couple of times. You know, a couple of minutes is not the end of the world. So yeah, stopped at the 100k aid station. So that aid station is at the top of a hill, and up that hill there's people lining either side of that hill. And now I know what people in the Tour de France feel like, because that atmosphere is incredible, because there's people either side and they're cheering you on. I'm quite alright on hills, so there was a few men on the hill, and I was just like cycling up the hill, overtook the few men, and people like, yeah, go on girl, go on power. Like, it was just the most amazing atmosphere. I can't stop thinking about how good the atmosphere it was and how much of a celebrity I felt. Like, it just felt, it felt really surreal. Anyway, there was a 100k aid station at the top of that hill, so pulled over there and said, I was like, oh yeah, I need to use, have you got a pump here? He's like, yeah, we've got no inner tube, we've run out. All of the aid stations had run out of inner tubes because so many people had so many punctures. I was speaking to someone on the at the airport actually yesterday, and he said he took 4 spare tubes with him. I mean, who takes 4 spare tubes? But maybe that's what people do, I don't know. He took 4 spare tubes, he gave one to someone and he used another 2. He got 2 punctures, and another guy I was running with at one point, he said he got 2 punctures. So I think on average most people got 2 punctures on that bike route, which is just crazy. He was like, right, I can't help you pump up your tyre, but I can hold your bike for you. I was like, that's fine, you hold my bike, I'll get the pump. He gave me the pump, and I was like, I don't know how to use this pump. It was a different one to my one. So I went over to a man who had the other pump from that aid station. He was changing his tube, and I was like, can I just use this pump just to pump up my tyre? He was like, I'm using it. I was like, no you're not, you're changing your tube, just leave it. So I got one of my gas canisters out and just did that, and the man was really helpful. He felt it and he was like, don't put it all in, just put a little bit, and he was holding it. He's like, yeah, that's enough. So he was really helpful, which was really nice of him. Did that, had my banana at the aid station, so maybe 3 minutes there, yeah, about 3 minutes. So it's fine, it's what it is. I'd rather lose 3 minutes than, you know, have to stop my race because I've got a puncture and I can't carry on. Carried on, obviously knowing that I still had the full loop of where everyone was getting punctures, and again, punctures, just saw people everywhere, people pushing, wheeling their bikes that clearly maybe didn't have anything to repair their punctures, didn't have pumps. The one man on the side of the road at one point was like, do you have a pump? And I was like, I don't have a pump, I'm sorry. Yeah, some people just wheeling their bikes obviously weren't able to carry on, which is obviously really sad. Carried on, and then I'd got back to near the end of the second loop and then heard my bad tyre again. This time I could just, it was just hissing, and it was more and more coming out. I was like, why is it not sealing? Why is it not sealing? And it just wasn't sealing, and I was getting really stressed. I was like, I've come all this way, I've stopped and pumped up my tyre, I'm at like 100 and I think it's about 155k at this point, and I was like, I've come all this way, do not go flat on me now. I was like, if I have to cycle back with a flat tyre and ruin my wheel, I'm gonna do that, because I'm not stopping now. Anyway, stopped, and like, because I've always been told to like let your wheel spin and let it try and like seal, and if it doesn't, then you can kind of stop and get where the puncture is at the bottom and like hit it a bit and let some of the sealant like set there. So I did that, and it seemed to seal, and again at this point I didn't bother putting more air in my tyre, I couldn't be bothered, so carried on. I was like, just get me back off this bike. Just went as quick as I could to get back, but at this point as well I needed a wee so bad. My bladder was huge, and I didn't want to stop on the bike, so I was like, I'm on for quite a good bike time here, I don't want to stop, just get to transition and you can go for a wee there. But because being obviously in my aero position, a really good example of me in my aero position, I had a stitch. It was, yeah, I don't think it was a tummy ache, it felt a bit of a tummy ache, but I had an awful stitch, and then it was a bit of a headwind coming back, and at this point as well, like, you're tired, you know you've got a marathon coming up, you need a wee, you've got a stitch, you've had a couple of punctures, it's kind of like getting in your head, I think, at that point, or it felt like for me anyway. So I was like, just get me back, just get me back. That last sort of 20k felt like forever. Got back into the city centre and it was just, I mean, there was people out on the course supporting, which was on the bike course, sorry, supporting. But as you get into town, the crowds on either side of the road were just incredible. Got back towards the transition and got towards the mountain line. And I nearly had a crash on the mountain line. Apparently lots of people were having crashes on the mountain line. Bear in mind, the mountain line must have been like 2, maybe max 3 meters wide. It was not wide at all. And some stupid man who, it really annoys me. I appreciate maybe in like a sprint, maybe in an Olympic distance, maybe if you're a pro, obviously if you're a pro, you know, you do that whole take one shoe out and you ride on one pedal and you jump off and you run into transition. But you know, he was coming off the bike at the same time as me. He clearly wasn't a pro. He was just trying to fucking show off. Oh, he was such a dickhead. Anyway, so he came flying into transition. Bearing in mind there was me and there was probably about 6 other people getting off their bikes, and he just comes flying past me. And obviously there's someone next to me and I'd sort of been pulling to the side and he almost went into the side of me and had to swerve back into someone else. And like, you know when your life flashes before your eyes a bit, and he was like, hey, what are you doing? I was like, that's not me, that was on you. He was an arsehole. I was really angry at him, but I was like, I've got no time to be angry, I need to go for a wee. So got off my bike, slowly dismounted it in a sensible way, and went into transition 2, which is in a separate place from T1. So when you go to rack your bike the day before, you rack your bike in T1, you hang your bike transition bag, and then you take your run transition bag, your red one, to that transition as well. You put it in like a bin with, or they'll have different numbers on, put it in a bin, and then they put it into transition 2 for you. So anyway, got off my bike and then you wheel it into transition 2, and there's bike, I think they call them bike catchers, bike collectors, bike catchers, I don't know what they're called. There were lovely volunteers in T2 that you gave your bike to, and they would wheel it off around the corner. They would go rack it for you. So a lovely girl was like, hey girl, I got you, and like ran over to me. She's like, you go smash it, girl power. And she was just the nicest girl, and I actually saw her at the end when I went to go pick up my bike, and I went up to her, I was like, you collected my bike and you really made me smile in T2. Like, thanks so much for your support. Honestly, yeah, like I said, the volunteers were epic. They were so nice, and like, just again, all of those little things like made me want to do that race again. I absolutely want to do that race again, and me and my boyfriend have already spoken about it, but that's for another time. So T2, right, got into T2 and found my bag, and again there was lovely volunteers like directing, because obviously you've not hung it up, you don't actually know where yours is. And I can't for the life of me, when I think when you're a bit, obviously you're tired, you're hungry, you're probably a bit dehydrated, a bit delusional after a long bike ride, you can't make your brain work. So I was like, I'm 776, and then they put like 1 to 300, 301 to whatever, and I just couldn't make my brain work. And I was looking at the numbers and they were descending, so I was like, does that mean mine's down there? Does it mean that I'm down? I just couldn't make my brain work. And it was the same after I got out of the swim. I knew where my bike was, but I couldn't make my brain work. Like it said like 890 to 771. I was like, so does that mean I'm in there? Does that mean I just couldn't make my brain work? So there was lovely volunteers showing me where my bag was, sorry. Just took it nice and steady. I always change my socks in T2, especially for an Ironman. I think having nice fresh socks, fresh feet is important. You don't want soggy socks. So I changed my socks and put my running trainers on, and then put some gels in my pocket. And because I was so desperate for the toilet, all I could think about was I'd put some wipes, just a little mini pack of like 10 wipes into my transition bag. So I was like, get those in my pocket, and in case you need the toilet on the run course, get them in your pocket. Most important thing. That's all I could think of. And then stupidly, so I put all my stuff in my transition bag, hung it back up, ran off, went to the toilet, and just sat on the toilet for like 3 minutes. Just had a wee, composed myself, and then went off to the run course. Stupidly forgot my sweets, my electrolytes. After about 500 meters on the run, I was like, oh my god, I've left like half of my nutrition in there. So I only had with me about 6 gels, which, like, you know, you can pick gels up on the course, but you can't pick, obviously there's Gatorade on the course, but I wanted like the chewable, what's it, electrolyte tablets. Can't make my brain work again. And I'd left them in my transition bag, and I was like, what have you done? No. And I think that just got in my head, because as well, I think it is more of a mental, the whole like run obviously you need to be fit for it, but the whole run is a mental game, especially the second half of that run. That is a mental battle. And I think because I'd left my sweets, and mentally in my head I'm like, oh, I'll do a kilometre, I'll have a sweet, I'll have that sweet, that'll be a pickup. Like, it is just such a mental thing, and because I've forgotten that, I think I just let my head drop a bit, which is ridiculous, which is so ridiculous. Came out of the run, had this awful stitch still from when I was on the bike, and I was like, just run, and just, it should drop off, just get you breathing. Once you stood up straight as well, I think it is just from being hunched over in that position for such a long time. Set out on my run, and it felt like I was like pounding the pavement, my feet felt so heavy. And I mean, I knew I'd come in a good time. Oh yeah, my time for my bike. So my bike time was 5:30:09. So 10th in my age group, 50th by gender, and 761st overall. My pace started to drop off in the second half of the bike. So I think I did 2 hours 40 for the first half and 2:50 for the second half, so only like 10 minutes slower, which, considering that's taken into account my puncture stop and everything, so I was happy with that. And then my T2 was 6:41, again happy with that, considering I sat on the toilet for like 3 minutes, just like, compose yourself, just have a sit down, you'll be fine. So yeah, that was that. Anyway, came out of T2, realised I forgot my nutrition, was fuming at myself, and felt like I was running really heavily. And then my first kilometre I ran through in like 4:30. I was like, no, slow down. So slowed down the pace, got to my, what I wanted to run at, which was like I wanted to run at a 5 minute pace. Got to that kilometre 5, I was sort of running for a couple of Ks at about 5 minutes per kilometre. Then it dropped to about 5:13 to 5:18, and I held that for the rest of that first half marathon. So my first half marathon, I think I averaged, let's say it was like a 5:15 pace for my first half marathon. Yeah, because I came through my first half marathon in 1 hour 50. 1 hour 50 for my first half marathon. So yeah, I was happy with that. Just below the pace that I wanted to run at, fine, not an issue. And then we got to, I would say, about kilometre 25, and I think that's where I kind of lost my head. I've not really done any longer than 30k running. I've never run a marathon before. That was my first marathon that I've ever run, doing my Ironman. Never run a marathon before. My longest run in training was 32k, and I've done 2 other 30ks. So I've done 2 30ks, a 32k. Those are my longest runs. So I think beyond that point it was very unknown territory, and I think I just let my head drop a little bit. I think I got into my head, and just, that's when the doubt started to kick in. That's when I was kind of like, and I always knew in lap 3, and I'd said that to myself before, laps 1 and 2, you know, the first half of lap 1 is hard because it's, you know, you're coming off the bike, you feel a bit like, ooh, my legs aren't there. Then you settle into it. So the second half of lap 1 is fine, the second lap's fine, and then you get to the third lap when you know you've done 2, but you know you've got another one after that one. You know you're getting close, but you're not close. And that's where, yeah, I think I let my head drop, and I started to doubt myself. And I saw 2 people had passed out, and it was about a kilometre. So it must have been on my third, yeah, it was on my third lap coming back in, so that must have been at about kilometre 27. 2 people passed out, all these medics and everything, they were in the recovery position. I was like, oh my god. And then I just felt really lightheaded, and obviously, you know, it's bound to happen when you're pushing your body to that level. You're bound to feel lightheaded, you're bound to, you know, not be feeling too great. I didn't feel too great at all. So I just got in my head, I was like, what if I pass out? What if I pass out and then I don't finish this race? And then, again, I think your mind plays tricks on you. I started to get this awful pain. It was like in the side of my rib, sort of just there, and I was like, that's like the side of my heart. Am I having a heart attack? Like, honestly, I think I was going a bit delirious. I was like convincing myself I was having a heart attack. On my Ironman. So I was like, I don't want to have a heart attack on this. I want to finish this race. I just slowed it down a bit, and across the run course as well, I missed all this bit out, I kept seeing, so my mum and dad, my brother and Rachel would all be together. Gaz was like running here, there and everywhere. I must have seen him like at least 10 times on the run course because he would just be everywhere. He ran all over, and then there was bits where he would like run maybe like 200-300 meters with me. Obviously he was filming me on the camera, but you know, just speaking to me. And I think because he's done it before, he gets it. Obviously, you know, you get amazing support from your family, my brother, Rachel, mum, dad, people on the course who are like, yeah, go girl, and that's always like really nice to lift you up and to make you smile. But to have Gaz there to be like, right, you're running at this pace, keep it at this pace, you know, walk through the aid station, just to give you a bit more like practical advice and to maybe remind you, you know, this is what you've trained for, you've done this, you've been here before, you know, just reminding you of those things. And I think he could tell I was struggling, sort of kilometers, yeah, 28 to all the way, but maybe like 28 to 38. So yeah, I saw him a few times. I started to walk through the aid stations, not all of them, grabbed a water, grabbed a Gatorade, had a bit of Gatorade, washed it down with the water, and then started to grab the tuck biscuits, the salty tuck biscuits. I felt like I needed something salty, so I grabbed one of them and had it. And I think you forget how like dry your mouth is, how dehydrated you are, that I put it in my mouth. I was like trying to chew it, and I just couldn't. It was just in my mouth, and I was like spat it out and then tried to wash it down with some water. Like it was it was awful. Yeah, that wasn't cool. I don't know. I think at that point, when you get to that point of like fatigue, and that point you just want to try anything to try and just give you that last bit of energy that you need. And I don't know if anything does give you that last bit. I think, you know, I just need to train more, I need to practice my running more, I need to build up that distance and yeah, train at that level for longer. I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. I don't think any amount of sweets, tuck biscuits, Gatorade, Red Bull really can change anything at that point. And then the last 5k, or like there's a bit that goes out and back that is quite, it's not very supported out there, it's a bit lonely, so that's where it's very easy for your head to drop. There's no one really cheering for you there. That's the difficult bit, I would say, on the course. So yeah, the second half, my pace had dropped quite a lot because there was a couple of Ks that, the ones that I'd walked through the aid stations, I think there was like 2 or 3 Ks that I'd dropped to about a 6:38. So obviously that brought my average down quite a bit. Yeah, I just struggled. Yeah, it was my fitness wasn't there, my endurance wasn't there at that point, which is fine. Like, it's, you know, it is what it is. But in my head, I knew I was on for about a 10.5 hour finish. So I knew that if I could get a 4-hour marathon, that I could be at that time. And I knew, because I wanted to get sub 11 hours, I knew I'd also had a bit of a buffer. I knew that I had about 20-25 minutes. So if things really did go wrong, like in my head I was like, I know I can walk the last bit and still get sub 11 hours, but I was like, no, you're not walking the last bit. It was just this constant battle in my head of like, well, I know I can go sub 11 hours, so maybe I'll just walk, but should I walk, but will I be able to run again? And I think, again, your mind just goes wild. Like, it's just weird. I think that point of like exhaustion, it's just hard. It was just hard. Anyway, the last sort of 3k came around. Actually, no, the last 5k came around. I remember my mum had said to me before I started, she was like, when you get to the last 5k, it's just like doing a park run. And I thought that, and I was like, this is the worst park run I've ever done. It's the slowest park run I've ever done. It just, that didn't help at all, because at that point 5k felt like a marathon itself. It just felt so far. Oh, I need to stretch my leg out, I'm cramping. Oh, counting down those last 5k, they went slowly. They went really slowly, but when I got to the last 2k, I was like, come on, let's pick up this pace. And it felt like I was bloody sprinting. And it does just go to show, though, you do have something left in the tank, because I managed to pick my pace up for the last 2k, and my legs had seized up. I just couldn't lift them. I felt like I was shuffling. But yeah, it felt like my feet were even lifting up off the floor. But anyway, I was like, come on, you've got 2k left, like, let's pick up the pace. And it felt like I was bloody sprinting. I mean, I only probably lifted up to maybe like a 5:30 pace, but I was like, come on, the end is in sight. You turn that corner and right at the end you can see the, I don't know what building it is. I don't know what building it is, but it's a big building where the finish line is. And as well, because you go around and you collect your different colour wristbands, like depending on which lap you're on. I was like, I've got my 4 wristbands, I'm ready to go and cross that finish line. And started picking up the pace. Oh my god, it's just the most incredible experience. You come round the corner, and then yeah, in the distance you can just see the big finish line and the grandstand with all like the seats and people sat there, and there's just crowds and crowds of people. It was, the atmosphere again was just like electric. It was just incredible. So anyway, because yeah, you come and take a right turn to come round to the finish line. Obviously I'd taken the left turn. You run past the finishing chute thing 4 times because you have to do 4 laps, so it's like every time you go past you're like, I just want to finish, and you see people like turning off to go and finish when you're going around to do another lap, and it's like so disheartening. So yeah, I collected my 4 bands, came around the corner, and as I was running to come around the corner I could see my dad at the end shouting me, and then as I turned the corner I think my mum was there as well. Yeah, she must have been with my dad, and then my brother, Rachel and Gaz were all stood at the side, and I started to run around the corner and they were like, Laura, ring the bell, because I'd told them that there's a first timers bell on the finish line. Obviously if you're a first timer you ring the bell and then you go down the finishing chute, and obviously I just wanted to get to the end. I just wanted to cross that finish line, and they're like, ring the bell, so I like ran past it and like turned around and went and rang the bell, and then went down that finish line, and I soaked that up. I had my hands in the air like running down. Oh, it was just the most incredible experience. The crowds again, like the cheers, and hearing, I mean, to be fair, I'd heard him shout, you are an Ironman, to so many people. I don't know if he'd said it to me, but in my head I was like, you are an Ironman, you are. Oh, like it makes me emotional. I'm so proud of myself. Yeah, I can't even speak. I'm so proud of myself. I don't even know if he said, Laura, you're an Ironman, but I don't even care. Like I couldn't even hear at this point. Like I was just too like overwhelmed with everything that was going on. I crossed that finish line with my arms in my air, my arms in the air, and I just couldn't believe it. Like crossed the finish line and I am an Ironman. I am an Ironman, and it makes me so happy. And I got across the finish line and just like my head just flopped, and put my arms on my legs, like just bent over. I just like couldn't move, and as I bent down a woman came over and put a medal over my head. I was like, this is mine, and then lay on the floor and just cried and just cried. It was just, and I was just so proud of everyone else. Like it's so fucking cool. Like that is some achievement for everyone who was there, every single person who did that, like that, everyone who's done one. Like I take my hat off to every single person who's done that, because that is no joke. And I've said it so many times to everyone I've spoken to, but like that was the best and the worst thing that I've ever done. That was the, like, it was awful. It was awful, but it was so great as well, and I would do it again. But they call it type 2 fun. Like it's definitely not fun at the time, but it's so fun and so great afterwards. Like that delayed gratification, that delayed sense of achievement, and that delayed fun, because there were some dark times across that course. Like in my head I was, when it was getting hard on the run, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like that doubt was really serious, and I was like, but I don't want to let, because Gaz was there, and I was like, I don't want to let him down, and he's done it before. I mean, he wouldn't let me stop. He would literally push me to carry on, literally physically push me back onto the course. He said that before, he'd lift me and push back on. I didn't want to disappoint him. I didn't want to disappoint my parents, my family. I didn't want to disappoint anyone like on social media who's been following me, and myself. Like I couldn't live with that. And so yeah, that, like, although that came into my mind, it was never going to be an option. So across the finish line, I just lay on the floor, and I was like, what do I do? I went and sat somewhere, and then I moved and sat somewhere else, and went and bought a Red Bull, not to buy it, went and go and grabbed a Red Bull. We went and got my finishers t-shirt, and then walked out to the end, because my parents and Gaz and everyone had come round to the end. And I saw my dad over the barrier in his Iron Dad top, and I went over to him and hugged him and just sobbed, and I was like, that was so hard. Like I just cried, and I'm gonna cry again. Like, that's really cool that I did that. Why do I get emotional? Compose yourself. Oh, that's crazy. It brings back emotions. Let me compose myself. right, we're good. We are good. So anyway, I hugged my dad and I was like, that was so hard. He was like, it's supposed to be hard. I was like, I know, but it was so hard. Oh, that was so funny. And I just like sobbed into his chest. He's like, I'm so proud of you. And it just, yeah, I just cried. And then, yeah, I saw Gaz, cried hugging him, and then went out, hugged my mum and my brother and Rachel. And yeah, it was just so lovely that they were all there to experience it with me. Oh, what a day. And you know what? And afterwards, I felt fine. And then afterwards I was like, did I push myself hard enough? But I know, like, I was hurting a lot on that run, and you always think afterwards, like, should I push myself harder? Like, did I push myself hard enough? Maybe I should have done better. But you know what? Like, it's done. I'm an Ironman. I was hoping for like nearer a 3:40, 3:45 run. Ended up with a 3:54 run, which it is what it is. Like, I faded massively on the run. I got, yeah, 150 first half, and then, oh well, then a 2:05, 2:04 second half. So yeah, I faded a lot, but it's one of those things. Average pace was 5:34, so I was hoping for an average of like near a 5:10, but like you can't know like what to happen. And your first one, like you don't know what to, you literally do not know what to expect. You don't know. So overall, my time, I'm so proud, was 10:35:41. So I'd said to my coach I'd like to do sub 12, and sub 11 would be like a gold standard goal. Like, if I get sub 11, I'd be over the moon. And to say I got 10:35:41, I'm just in shock. In shock. I came 7th in my age group, 33rd out of 342 females, first one. And I know there's areas that I want to improve on, and me being me, typical me, I'm always going to say like, could have done better, or I'm always one to compare myself to the girls who are at the top. I'm always going to compare, you know, to the girls who came in the top 3. But like, that's just me, typical shithead me, like so competitive, and so I don't know, I'm hard on myself. I'm too hard on myself. I am over the moon with that time, and there's areas I know I need to work on. I really need to now I want to work on my run a little bit more. We've worked on my swim so much, and now that has got to a much better place. I'm a much more confident swimmer, and what used to be my weakness is actually now my strength. But anyway, so that was done, and surprisingly, yeah, felt fine afterwards. I felt better after my full Ironman than I did after my first half Ironman when I did Mallorca last year. I felt surprisingly fine. Obviously after the race, as anyone who's done a race, you're wired afterwards. I didn't sleep, so I think I would sleep till about 11, and I was up again at 3:30 the next day because I was starving. Had 3 bowls of Frosties, then got back into bed for maybe like an hour, but I was wide awake. So that was my Ironman Copenhagen experience. I hope I've covered everything, but like, what an incredible experience. Not only obviously the race was unbelievable, and so much so that I think we're going to sign up to it again next year, which is really exciting, but like this entire lead up and the prep to this Ironman has been incredible. Like, it's been like the hardest thing I think I've ever done. It's taken so much commitment, so much dedication. I've had to, yeah, there's been a lot of, you know, events and things that I have had to turn down to focus on getting the long sessions into the weekend. Like, that's what these big goals take. Like, you do have to sacrifice things, you do have to prioritize your training over a lot of other things, but you know, that's what it takes to train for something as big as an Ironman. And like, the goal behind this as well, obviously starting like this YouTube channel, which has been like amazing. Obviously, like, it's the smallest YouTube channel ever, but the people I've been able to help and impact, and the people that I've connected with via my YouTube channel has been incredible, because yeah, so many people have reached out and or said that, you know, they're starting triathlon and they're sort of inspired by my journey. Like, that's what this whole thing was about. Obviously, you know, I wanted to challenge myself. I set myself big goals because, you know, I always want to be improving and getting better and challenging myself. But like, this was about also inspiring others, because, you know, I'm not a triathlete. I started triathlon, you know, this will be about 2 years now. You know, I very recently started doing triathlon. and to go from not doing triathlon 2 years ago to completing a full Ironman. I was hoping to inspire people with this journey to know that you can do anything you want to do if you are willing to commit and put in the work. And like, that is literally what it comes down to. Like, if you are willing to show up every day and commit to your goal, you will achieve that goal. You are the one that has to make that happen. You know, you can't wait around for other people to do it for you. Like, you are the one that has to do that. I wanted to show that if you know, set yourself a goal and really commit to it, like, just what you can achieve. And hopefully that has inspired others to know that they can also do the same. And you know, by no means does that mean you have to go and sign up to an Ironman. That could be literally like, I want to commit and do my first park run. I'm gonna set my goals on completing a half marathon this time next year. Whatever it is, it doesn't have to be an Ironman. You know, it doesn't have to be an endurance-based goal. Whatever it is, like, set yourself a goal and just commit to it. Like, that is literally what it is. Like, stop with the excuses, stop holding yourself back, and like, just make it happen. Just do what you need to do to achieve the thing you want to achieve, and stop giving in to the things that, you know, feel convenient now, that you want now, and start thinking about the longer term goal. Anyway, I could ramble on about this for ages, but my camera's probably gonna die and you're probably bored of me sat here. I love it so much. I'm in Copenhagen. This on the back with my name in the circle at the top. What else did I get? Obviously I got my medal, which I've showed you already. And on the back it says, make your own fairy tale come true, which is just what I was saying. Like, make it happen. Like, just do it. Just do it. Stop making shit excuses. I think I'm gonna go sign up to another one for next year. But yeah, in the meantime, I'll be doing some shorter stuff. I'll be doing some running events. I want to get my 10k time down to sub 40. I want to get fast again. I want to do some half marathons. I just want to do loads and just keep getting better. And that's what it's about, just continuing to get better every single day, every single week, just looking to improve. Also, Gaz and I are doing high rocks mixed doubles, so that'll be interesting because I am weak. I am a weak triathlete. I need to get back to lifting some weights and moving some heavy stuff. So yeah, that's the goal. Anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling. I will yeah, I'm gonna keep up this YouTube channel. I enjoy it. I'll take you along with me to some of my upcoming events and yeah, my training. I don't know. Let me know what you want to see because I'm enjoying YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, for supporting, for following along this journey. It's been an epic one and I can't wait for the next one, the next challenge, yeah, whatever that may be. So thanks again. Please do like, comment. I love talking to you in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe obviously to my little YouTube channel, and I will catch you soon. This is editing Laura just checking in, obviously still wearing my AM AN Copenhagen merch finishes t-shirt, you know how it is. But I completely missed out for hugely important people who have supported me on this incredible journey. Obviously number one being my coach, Nick Dunn from Challenge Tri, who has turned me from non-triathlete into Ironman in like the space of 2 years. Absolute legend, love working with him, can't wait to continue working with him. Terry from Be Your Best Coaching, who runs the swim sessions that I go to every Friday. He runs the group swim sessions. He also coaches triathlon as well, so he's super knowledgeable. Amazing guy who has literally turned me from non-swimmer into pretty decent swimmer. Before his sessions I used to just kick as hard as I could and just hope that I'd get to the end of the pool. I used to not be able to breathe both sides, so I've learned so much from him. Absolute legend. 100% recommend for anyone local to me, sort of in the Lancashire area, his swim sessions. Can't recommend them enough. And then Tom from OGL Construction, who has sponsored me this year. Like, the biggest shout out to him because he's one of like my biggest fans. He is so supportive and he's just a great guy who has really helped me out with my races this season. Brilliant guy, brilliant company, all around brilliant guy. Finally, the Bicycle Lounge in Ormskirk. They must be sick of the sight of me because I am in there all the time, and if I'm not in there I'm on the phone to them because I'm asking them questions, I'm booking them into service, clean. I can ride a bike but I'm not any bike mechanic or anything like that, so they have helped me massively. Obviously I did my bike fit there, and when I look for a new bike going into next season, I can't wait to have a look at all the incredible bikes that they've got in that shop. So the Bicycle Lounge in Ormskirk, great place, really knowledgeable guys that work in there who, yeah, as I said, probably sick of the sight of me, but they've not got rid of me because I'm not stopping triathlon anytime soon. So anyway, back to the video. Don't mind me being on the Ironman website. Ironman Copenhagen 2024 next year. Let's do it. So Ironman Copenhagen is my Ironman for next year. Ironman 70.3 Bolton has just opened up and I've just entered that because it's literally down the road from me, so it'd be silly not to. And finally Ironman 70.3 Mallorca, because I will be out in Mallorca 2 weeks beforehand on a tri-camp, so I'm just going to extend my stay out there and do 70.3 Mallorca. Here we go, let's get entered. Let's do it all over again. Let's do it all over. So excited. Oh my god, I'm signing up to this again. Why am I getting so giddy again? Oh my god, my heart is racing again. It's like I've never done one before. I don't think it will ever like be a comfortable thing to do, to enter an Ironman. Right, I just need to click complete. Oh my god. Right. 800. Oh god. I'm giddy. Right, that is entered. So that's me entered for Ironman Copenhagen 2024. Come and join the journey again. Let's go. Oh, I'm giddy. I'm excited. Come along with me on the ride. But anyway, thanks for watching, and yeah, I'll post a video again soon at some point. I don't know, I'm giddy from that. I will catch up with you all soon.